Be wise and stay clean, my people, cause prevention is better than cure. What I say?
Change your behavior. I say change your attitude. Change your behavior. I say change your attitude.
Everywhere they poo-poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola, bola. Everywhere they poo-poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola, bola.
Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa. Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Please, somebody tell me what's going on.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Please, somebody tell me what's going on.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Yes, he died basa, improper layout, inadequate ventilation. Single room, nipe demono, yet to mankind. In your mafoso, dear, unu yen kofwe, no dear bocho. It's your top asem kesie, come here by name una mania. Toilet and bathrooms are converted into bedrooms. Now gutters, bushes, beaches, rivers. Why with the poo-poo? Say so yeah, the sources of people drinking water. Mr. President, members of parliament, no man for. Yeah, well, professors, doctors, masters, pastors, wahane so. Yeah, yes, you know, people na me say, yeah, no monsieur pa. Sachet water, a binim say, pure water, a big cry, heavy, impurities. Got a monsieur na ye de water, fruit and vegetables. In crime, papa, ye mola, ya jeni ya ye baho yatna, how fascini, Ghana, Ebola, Ghana.
Oh my Ghana, Ghana, I hear people talk. Oh my Ghana, Ghana, I hear people talk.
Kiuni, yempefi, if he won't weigh in my area. Kiuni, yempefi, if he won't weigh in my area.
Eyes, you can see where you can go, what you can be. Clean up the litter, clean up the poo-poo, clean up the wee-wee. Bola, bola, bola.
Everywhere they poo-poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola, everywhere they poo-poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola.
Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa. Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee?
Every day is sanitation day.
Since I was by, let Clean Ghana play your part. Kai. There.
Who want to go to heaven? Are you sure you will go to heaven? Where do you throw your refuse? Where do you defecate? Where do you urinate? Whenever I take a stroll on the street of Ghana, I see baller, beaches, baller, bushes, baller, rivers, baller, gutters, baller, markets, baller, everywhere, baller. So I ask you, will you go to heaven? Do you know why our forefathers lived hundreds? They were law-abiders to what we term as taboos, yet they preserved and restored the environment. We say we are civilized, but on the street, people poo-poo. Beaches, they poo-poo. Bushes, they poo-poo. Rivers, they poo-poo. Gutters, they poo-poo. Everywhere, they poo-poo. Sesa Wusubain, let's clean Ghana. Play your part. Typhoid fever, cholera, malaria, diarrhea, Ebola, flooding, loss of properties and lives are our wages. Children's physical and mental development is retarding. The toll on the national health insurance is rising. There is always low productivity in our national economy because we keep on spending money on something we can easily prevent. Sister Wusubai, let's clean Ghana. Play your part. Stop open littering now. Let us put our refuse in dustbins. Gutters are not dustbins. Stop open defecation now. Let us build houses with latrine and use it. Public toilets are for transit people. Stop open urination now. Use the washroom. The wall is not a washroom. Let us enforce the laws with no political interference. Let us wash our hands with soap and water after visiting the toilet, before eating, before food preparation. Sister Wusubai, let's clean Ghana. Play your part. My woman win here. Men kasa won kaho. Na Ghana, any ebibi mind by a year. Ejina menne woso. So again, I ask you, are you sure you are going to have
Yo, Kofi, oh man, ya woman, oh man, ya mana. So, when you one can ask some, say, Mafu to some cacre was supreme. Yo, Kofi, oh man, ya woman, oh man, ya mana. So, when you one can ask some, say, Mafu to some cacre was supreme.
Good afternoon, Ghana. Good afternoon, Africa. This is Pan-African TV. My name is Ita Bobo, your host for Clean Ghana, our environment, our health. Today, I have with me the president of the Ghana Environmental Health Association, and we are going to discuss issues concerning their practices. Stay tuned. I'll introduce him after the commercial break. It's retarding. The toll on the national health insurance is rising. There is always low productivity in our national economy because we keep on spending money on something we can easily prevent. Sister Wusubai, let's clean Ghana. Play your part. Stop open littering now. Let us put our refuse in dustbins. Gutters are not dustbins. Stop open defecation now. Let us build houses with latrine and use it. Public toilets are for transit people. Welcome, Mr. Nutsugah.
Thank you very much, my brother. And it's a great opportunity to be here.
Can you briefly tell us about yourself?
Good afternoon, Ghana. My name is Nutsugah. I preside over the Ghana Environmental Health Officer Association, and currently I'm the Acting Central Regional Environmental Officer, working for the Central Regional Coordinating Council.
Thank you. You are the president of the Ghana Environmental Health Officers Association. Can you please tell us what the practices is entailed about?
Well, largely the environmental health practice, for that matter, the Environmental Health Officers Association, began some time ago, around 1985, in terms of the association. But for registration and then legal purposes, we started officially with the registration to the Registrar General by 1992. So from 1992 till date, the association has been running. In terms of structure, the association is directed by Congress. And the Congress is held every 4 years. And every 4 years, we go to Congress to elect executives. In terms of hierarchy, the second decision-making body of the association is the National Executive Council. And the National Executive Council largely is made up of the 10 regional chairpersons of the association that meet in the regions. Then we have the district executive councils that are supposed to be at the district level association. So in terms of structure, we operate hierarchically from Congress. Every 4 years we go and meet at Congress. Congress gives decisions and decisions are taken. The National Executive Council meets and they sanctions the decisions of Congress and also make sure that the decisions are implemented. And every 4 years, as practitioners, we go to Congress and have elections. So our current executives, which I'm privileged to serve on as their leader, was given the mandate at the Quadrennial Delegate Congress held in Cape Coast. And since then, we've been having our engagements and our activities. When it comes to the practice of the environmental health officer, usually what we usually say is that the environmental health practice started as a public health intervention during the pre-colonial era. The thinking was that there were so many diseases that were attacking people that needed to be controlled. And with the interventions that were being put in place, they realized that more of the communicable diseases were very prevalent in the communities. So a phase came where they thought that, well, let's promise our people such that the war returnees who return from war will come back and then put that fear in people. So the concept of Samansama came to play. In that Samansama concept, it was just meant to arrest and prosecute. That once you see somebody committing a sanitary infraction, you are to arrest the person as a Samansama and produce the person before court for court to pronounce judgment on the person. So that is how the practice started during the pre-colonial era, and hence the name Samansama. Within that phase, largely there were some environmental health practitioners who were working with the colonial government, and some were also working with the assemblies. So once you were working with the then assemblies or local council, you are called a town councillor or a town council. That is how those two names came to become part of our practice. So around 1925 thereabout, the Accra School of Hygiene that trains environmental health officers of the technical officers class was started, commissioned, and then subsequently the WHO and Tamale schools and WHO School of Hygiene. The Tamale came after Accra, and then WHO is currently the youngest school that we have. So by and large, the environmental health officers education has 3 schools that we train our officers in. The whole School of Hygiene is there for the equivalence of those who are a bit of auxiliary staff, maybe limited or perhaps relational to the current community health people in terms of qualification and whatever. And then Tamale School of Hygiene, that also was originally that. And then the Accra School of Hygiene was training people who passed out as technical officers and holds diploma in environmental health. So when you are a practitioner in Ghana and we are calling you the environmental health officer or environmental health assistant, it means that professionally you might have gone through the 3 schools of hygiene. So that is how it is. And because of the needs of the officers within the span of time in contemporary times, the association has also been able to partner the key stakeholders in engagements and dialogue that seeks to promote the welfare of the practice of the environmental health officer. So I think this is just about a brief of us as an association and of us as who the environmental health officer, the Samansama or the tankers person is.
That is lovely. Over the years, we've heard of Samansama tankers. Not knowing, I thought you were even out of the system because they were searching for you. They were not finding you. Where have you been? What is the problem?
Well, we've been around. I have done a decade and a half of practice, over a decade and a half of practice. I also took over from management, and I'm also there working. We've been around. The challenge, as I said, has been a metamorphosis in name. To others, they want to tie the name to the approach. And once you summon or you arrest somebody literally and send to court, they want you to be called the Samansama or the sanitary inspector or the inspector of nuisance or the environmental officer or whatever. That is how the metamorphosis has begun, has been over the years. So the environmental health officer is still around. We are managing a workforce of about 4,000, woefully inadequate, but I believe that when we go as we go through the interview session, some of the issues will come up. But largely, when you ask where is the Samansama, where is the environmental officer, I would say that the environmental officer is in the regional coordinating councils, the waste management departments and the public health or environmental health units of the various metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. So the officers are there trying to do their best in order to improve upon the environmental sanitation situation in Ghana.
Okay, so now I know that the Samansama and the tankers, as we used to call them, they are now the environmental health officers, and we can find them in the various municipal or the MMDAs. What is your duty as an environmental health officer?
Well, largely the environmental health officer's duty is largely premised on what we call inspection for compliance enforcement. When we say inspection for compliance enforcement, largely there are statutes that backs the works that the environmental officer does. And usually when the environmental officers work, we want to look at the scope. It does the inspection to ensure that there is compliance to public health regulations and policy directions. So if we would want to catalog the number in terms of the functions that are done, I would say that the functions are legal functions. And the legal functions are enshrined in the various statutes, laws, and regulations that we have. One of the common ones that people usually see is the premises inspection. The environmental health officer, the sanitary inspector, or for the purpose of this our discussion and listenership, in Ghana today, does premises inspection. And one of the things that we do as premises inspection is to engage the households or the premises owner in nuisance identification, and then between the premises owner and the officer, we would want to see how we can negotiate for the abatement of the things that are identified during the inspection, and then together we'll find common solutions to that one. Another activity that largely we do, as we are popularly known, is over the period is what we call the meat hygiene or meat inspection. The environmental health officer by statute is mandated to do ante-mortem inspection. When I say ante-mortem inspection, what I'm referring to is that when there is an animal that has been slaughtered, and then you would want to see whether that animal that has been slaughtered, which technically we call the carcass, that has been slaughtered, that animal is fit for human consumption. The environmental officer would have to do a thorough inspection and then possibly either pass it fit for human consumption or allow for the destruction or the disposal of the carcass for that matter. We are also working in other areas of food hygiene. As I said earlier, the environmental health officer's function is largely legal. So you go to the food premises, We look at where the food is coming from. We look at where the food is prepared. We look at where the food is sold. For us, we believe that the environment largely contributes to food safety. And if you want to have a very safe food, you must buy from a very safe environment. So within that chain, we climax that process or that activity with health screening of food vendors, in which our colleagues in the Ghana Health Service, the accredited laboratory institutions, and then the various laboratories in public facilities are contracted to do medical examination of food vendors. And when you pass fit, then you are given a certificate for 1 year to practice as a food vendor. Then also the issues of work environment. As you work, you need to work in a very safe environment. So largely, the environmental health officers' duties span over 40 duties. Issues of disinfection and disinfestation, issues of school health inspection, issues of school health education, issues of sanitary regulations enforcement generally. And then also, the public doesn't know, but we are also public prosecutors. By law, we are allowed to prosecute sanitary offenses at the courts. And then many other functions that is given to us by law. So by and large, with the migration and with the processes, when we find ourselves now is the local government service largely. A lot of us are working within the local governance structure. So the Regional Coordinating Council has the Regional Environmental and Sanitation Departments, and then all the 260 MMDAs also have environmental health offices or waste management departments within them. So the waste management department also looks at from generation to final disposal of waste. We in practice always believe that waste management is not only at the final disposal site, but that it starts from generation. That is why we keep advocating for storage of waste at the source of generation. When the waste is stored at the source of generation and it is well segregated, then it's not everything that will end up in the final disposal site, but rather we'll be able to recover some materials that will be used for recycling or reuse. So by and large, that is where we are, and then we are trying to enforce the mandate of the health officer of the assembly. And by section 14 of the Local Governance Act 936, the environmental officer and the medical officer of health at the district assembly are the health officers of the assembly. So when you get to the assembly, the statute allows that we have what we call the LI 1961, the Legislative Instrument 1961. And in that one, the environmental officer is either part of the Department of Health or is part of the Waste Management Department. So that is how the structure looks like in terms of our functions. Recently, in 2000, not quite recently, but in 2012, the state decided that they would want to do a compilation of all laws that has to do with public health. And according to the hierarchy of laws, we all take our laws, the superiority, the highest law of the land is Constitution of Ghana. So from the Constitution, we have acts and other enactments that come from Parliament. So the Public Health Act of 2012 was also promulgated, and that extensively gave us section 50 to 57. All the activities in there are activities that the environmental officer is mandated by law to carry through. And once the law mandates us to do the things that we do, we should be able to do it in such a manner that we will be able to protect public health, and everybody who is in the public space will be able to ensure that we live in a safe and sound environment. So briefly, that is what I would say we are and we do.
Thank you, Mr. Nutsugah. If the law mandates you to carry out your activities, then why do you see refuse? As locally we say bola all around our cities and our communities.
You see, that is a very good observation. The refuse management and disposal has so many factors that affects it. One of them is we ourselves as our attitude as Ghanaians. Since the early sanitation policy of 1999 gives the mandate of refuse management to the assemblies. So largely, the citizen, thinks that somebody must manage our refuse for us. With the increase in population within all our urban and peri-urban areas, the refuse generation capacity, the tons of refuse that is generated per day has increased. Changing lifestyles has influenced our volume of refuse that we generate. Management of final disposal sites also remains a challenge. We see refuse management as the state's responsibility because we think that the state must clean our environment for us. And I would want to associate myself with a statement by the president that we should not only be spectators, but we should also be active participants in the things that we do. So several factors account for the kind of pile of refuse that we see. Lack of logistics could be one of them. Lack of engineering solutions could be one of them. Our own attitude that we would want to generate waste. We go to market empty-handed, and then we expect that when we are coming home, instead of coming home with a paper bag or something that is full with the things that we buy from the market, we bring 5, 6, 7 types of poly bags, and that also entails. So there is open littering around the place that we have, where dustbins are provided across all the country. It is always misused. The dustbins that are provided in public space is supposed to be for containment of street waste. But you go in there and you see that there are a lot of household waste finding their way into the refuse container. The other side too is our landfill sites. The turnaround time for carrying of refuse, maybe from Kaneshi to Nsumia site, or from wherever to the Pum, final disposal site, or to wherever to Kumasi, whatever you look at the distance. And Ghanaians largely have developed what we call the NIMBY syndrome. The NIMBY syndrome is like we always think that the sanitary system should not be close to us, not in my backyard syndrome. So you see that areas that were marked as sanitary sites have all been encroached upon. So establishing even transfer stations for carrying of waste. If, for example, we are here in Accra and these refuse collectors who go door to door collecting refuse would have to travel from here about 30 kilometers to the final disposal site in Pum. When he gets on the motorway, he feels like he has arrived. Or if there's any other problem that he confronts him on the way to the final disposal site, he just leaves the refuse there and goes away. So largely attitudinal, and then also largely the issue of sanitary systems. The final disposal sites we have in Ghana, which are engineered, I'm not sure they are even up to 5. It's only recently that there's been a bacterial recovery center that has been constructed and commissioned somewhere around Kolebu. But largely along the countryside, all our final disposal sites that we are managing, we see all kinds of things. Once it rains, most of the areas are not accessible. So the refuse will continue to be on the street. The issue is that government over the years have paid a lot of commitment towards sanitation improvement. Most recently, in most recent past, there was an idea about having a transfer station. When a transfer station is there, then it means that the turnaround time for the conveyance of the refuse to final disposal site will be a bit more shorter, because the refuse will go to just a very short distance to be collected, stored, and then finally transported to the final disposal site. So the challenges for refuse management, one is about population increase. A lot of people come to Accra. We are reporting, various literature has reported over 5-6 million people coming in Accra every day. So the higher the population, literally, the higher the refuse generation. So as citizens, we need to find a way of playing our part and ensuring that the policy frameworks that are available for management of sanitation are really complied with. Your responsibility as a citizen of Ghana, as a tenant in a house, is clearly spelled out in the National Sanitation Policy. The responsibility of unit committee people are spelled out. Responsibility of district assemblies are spelled out. The responsibility of the national government, the ministries, are also spelled out. So, by and large, if we all do our part and we brainstorm around the issues, we are likely to find solutions. But the way things look now, we are more into an attitudinal issue that we need sustained behavior change communication to be able to do. And that, for us, is what we have been doing. And that is why people can keep saying that, oh, well, let's call back the Sama. Let's put the fear in the people. Let's arrest and prosecute. Let's do this. Let's do this. But largely, the intervention over from the 1990s coming has been on ensuring that we engage the people, providing them with sanitary information so that they can ensure compliance even at their own level, irrespective of the type of fear you put in them. Fear management issues are usually not sustainable. They will comply today. They can deploy everybody, police, every military people onto the streets of Accra or into the streets of Ghana. But if the people are not willing to change their attitude, the police or whoever is supposed to ensure that people do the right thing will continue to be on the street, for a longer period. But we believe that the enforcement should be interrelated with education, and then we also prefer engineering solutions to the sanitation crisis that we find ourselves, especially refuse management. In some jurisdictions, waste is sorted out. Once it's sorted out, the materials are recovered. And once the materials are recovered, they become a resource, a raw material to some other product. And that is what is usually done in some other places. But averagely, what happens in Ghana, in most of our communities, is that very few people try to do the separation. But when the waste trucks come, they pull all together into one waste truck and they carry to final disposal site. The management of the various components of waste is varied, and that is the reason why we always advocate for source separation and storage of waste at the point of generation. So that if that is done, then we'll be able to assure ourselves that the number of education that we do through our school health education programs, through our community sensitization, then we hope we will see that at least we are having some resource as we proceed in the fight against filth within our catchment areas as practitioners and then the MMDAs for that matter.
Attitude not change, Sister Osubai, blah, blah, da, da, da. Okay, let's go back. We will have a commercial break, and when we're back, we are going to discuss a lot of issues in there. To live in a dirty environment. Malaria, cholera, and other preventable diseases come as a result of insanitary and unhygienic practices. We can give you free mosquito nets, free drugs, but trust me, Aya, you can still fall sick and die if you still live in a dirty environment. Be wise and stay clean, my people, cause prevention is better than cure. What I say?
Change your behavior. I say change your attitude. Change your behavior. I say change your attitude.
Everywhere they poo-poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola, everywhere they poo-poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola.
Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa. Why the poo-poo?
quiet, inadequate ventilation. Single room, nipe demono, yet to mankind. In your mafosu, dear, unu yen cover, no dear bocho. It's your top pass and cassia. Come here by Neuna Mania. Toilet and bathrooms are converted into bedrooms. Now gutters, bushes, beaches, rivers. Why with the poo poo? Say so yeah, the sources of beer drinking water. Mr. President, members of parliament. Nah, no mind him for. Yeah, well, professors, doctors, masters, pastors, wahan, so yeah, so no, Ibona me say, yeah, no, monsieur pa. Sachet water, a bit of pure water, a big cry, heavy impurities. Got a monsieur na ye de water, fruit and vegetables. In crime, papa, ye mola, ya shenia, ye baho yatna, how fascinating. Ghana, Ebola, Ghana.
Oh my Ghana, I hear people talk. Oh my Ghana.
Bunubia one kana sam. They mafu to some kakre wa supeme. Yo kofi, oh man ya woman, oh man ya mama. So bunubia one kana sam. They mafu to some kakre wa supeme.
Welcome back from the commercial break. We have some texts here and we would like to share them. One from Lion from Chufupra. So he says, Ita Bobo, I'm watching you live. Keep the good work. We need to clean Ghana with seriousness. And also one from Amma from Ashoma. He said, very educative program. Keep it up. Also one from Mausi Joy. He said, I want to know if we still have environmental health officer, aka tankers people in Accra Central. Let me go to the WhatsApp pages and it's a good day, please. I have some few issues of concern as an individual on the issue of attitude or behavior change. What are we doing as those in charge to help solve these issues? Trained students are left idle instead of being appointed or posted. Those officers are even appointed are not at all times being given the mandate to function as expected. Most of the times due to political and other influential people interferences. What are we intending to put in place to encourage and motivate these field officers to work properly? He didn't mention the name, but we are going to answer as the questions goes on. Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what is right?
Oh, yes, I know what is right.
Are you willing to do what is right?
Well, it's a charge to keep I have.
That is the challenge. We are talking about behavioral change. That is why I brought in this question, because people know what is right and they are not willing to do what is right. Don't you think we should bring the law as those times in Samansama or the tankers, they will come, look onto your compounds, identify some few problems and arrest you straight to court and you are being found or prosecuted, pay something to the government?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that that could be one of the solutions, but not a sustainable solution, in my respectful opinion. Several things have happened within our country's history. And usually, I would say there is an issue of we having the required leadership among ourselves to be able to shoulder the issue of attitude. Because I believe yesterday I was on the field with Pan-African TV, and being the first Saturday of the month, we were in Domi Market trying to join hands to clean the market. And it was sad to see the kind of things that was happening around the Domi Market. We were cleaning around where they sell charcoal. for those who know the double market very well. The issue of attitudinal change will take some time, but we need dedicated and cautious effort aimed at using various approaches to enforce attitudinal change.
And what are some of the approaches?
Well, behavior change communication could be one of them. We need to link up as we are doing. We are sensitizing people. We keep doing the talking. We keep doing the topic. We keep doing the talking. Enforcement by practice always comes as a last resort. And if we want to put enforcement first, then literally by our statutes, the fines in our statutes goes as high as 1,200 Ghana cedis. That is how far it goes because it's a public health intervention. And your mishap, whatever you do, that is likely to affect any other person. It could even cause the death of somebody. So for the public health regulations, the enforcement bit is there. I will go for a combination of all the three. Enforcement, engineering, and then sustained education. There should be behavior change communication at all levels, especially our children who are at school.
You said engineering as one of the as the tools. Can you explain what you mean by engineering?
Well, what I'm saying is that some of the sanitation solutions are engineered in nature. We need to look at technology. If you are doing material recovery, and the material recovery is ending up in a dump site, not an engineered landfill site, then if you have an engineered landfill site, that waste could be a resource. You get it? So the engineering solutions are there. How do we dispose of our excreta? Fecal sludge management has become a problem in most of our MMDAs. You go around the place and there's nowhere in mind that they say they've designated as a place where they will dislodge their fecal sludge. We all eat. When we eat, where do the feces go? Are we having a consolidated area where we all go and dump in the open trenches? Or we are looking at how we can recover whatever we need to recover from the feces. So engineering solutions are there. And I believe you are aware that in these recent times, you see a lot of promotions on technology solutions, household sanitation facilities. You see a lot of people advertising on the biogas technologies. You see other people doing some things on biofuels technology. The technology assessment framework provides for various technologies and various engineering solutions. And it is just a matter of getting in touch with the Environmental Health Office for various engineering solutions to our problem. The problem is not assuming I do a change of behavior without it commensurate engineering solution. As we are seeing now, during this time of the year, during the rainy season, the final disposal sites are literally unmotorable. How do we engineer them? Yes.
Before you come to that, do you have, because I'm seeing challenges in your work, can you tell us some of the challenges that you are facing in your workforce?
Well, largely, that is what one of the testers said. The biggest challenge we have is the human resource, the number of the environmental health officers working on the field. Over the years, there has been a challenge with recruitment. The belief was that it was part of the IMF conditionalities and blah, blah, blah. That is what the engagement has been. Students finish School of Hygiene and they are not posted. Some have spent about 5-6 years at home and they've not been posted. We believe that when we are able to get the number of environmental health officers who are trained technically to deliver the mandate, we will be able to find a solution. That is one. The second one is logistics. The needs, the government provisions in the terms of the budgetary allocations and releases, and what actually gets for environmental health practice is woefully inadequate.
Are you sure?
Because, yes, it's woefully inadequate because when
they were reading the budget, the money allocated for sanitation, where did you go? I mean, it comes to you, you use it. That is where you provide. You have the dustbin, Zoom Lion, cleaning the streets. Are they not adequate?
You see, when we talk about adequacy, the challenge that we have in Ghana is that we've not been able to thoroughly measure our problem. What is the cash build-up for the quantum of money that comes to us? When we go through the budget, how much is allocated to the 30 million Ghanaians approximately in Ghana for sanitation improvement, for example? Do the money or the budgetary allocations, are they able to meet our implementation strategy? I can tell you, when you go to the assemblies have very beautiful bylaws, very beautiful policies, very beautiful things that they intend to enforce. But the challenge has been how to resource and provide the required funding for environmental and sanitation service delivery in Ghana. For some of us in regions that are supported by our development partners, largely we are able to get some support to complement what government releases. But in other areas where there's no support, no project, no program, nothing really going on in terms of development area support, the challenge is there. The amount of release that gets to environmental health functions. And don't forget, the environmental health as a unit in the metropolitan assemblies and then metropolitan municipal and district assemblies is a unit under the central administration. So the budget allocation to central administration, you and I will agree that it may not be enough to cater for the sanitation needs of the districts. And the other end is that we as Ghanaians are not interested in sanitation financing. So we see it as Assembly's responsibility to clean our environment, or Zoomline responsibility to clean our environment. Then when we go to the market and we are going to sell, we are not even willing to pay maybe 2 cedis for market sanitation. And if you are not willing to pay that one, the needs, I have always said that you can't manage what you can't measure. So the budget is read, the funds are earmarked. People have done a lot of budget tracking within the watch sector, and then there are several results literature out there that seems to suggest that the earmark funds does not actually get released for environmental and sanitation intervention. So logistics to do the work that we want to do after the human beings, the logistics to do the work that we want to do. In some districts in Ghana, you would go and the district environmental health officer is sharing office with 2 other departments. They sit by a table, they are doing all kinds of things. There is no privacy. You are not able to have engagement with the client. That counts for on any complaint. So those issues are there in terms of logistics.
Okay, so are you saying that if you have adequate logistics, you are going to you are going to improve your work, or we are not going to see baller on the street?
Yes, I'm saying that the human beings and then the logistics, these two will go hand in hand to be able to ensure that these things are done. When the human beings are there to drive the effort, then you are very sure that the logistics will be used, effective supervision will be done. And then when those things are done, we are sure. So we were advocating, we keep insisting that our colleagues who have finished the schools of hygiene are available for posting. And we've always been dialoguing with the government of Ghana to at least help us support the agenda of cleaning Ghana, because we are the institution with the legal mandate to ensure that sanitation service delivery is improved in Ghana.
Okay, so in a way, what's your final marks for?
Well, one critical thing that we also spoke about is the issue of enforcement. The law and the Local Governance Act gives power to Assembly to do bylaws. But as we speak today, about 80% of assemblies in Ghana have no gazetted bylaw. So when we are looking at enforcement, we should look at enforcement in its own totality. So finally, I think that the issues for sanitation is everybody's responsibility. That is why we in practice have what we call the axiom of sanitation. So sanitation is a way of life. It is a quality of living that is expressed in a clean home, a clean farm, a clean business and industry, and a clean neighborhood. Being a way of life, it must come from within the people. It is nourished by knowledge and grows as an obligation, as an ideal in human relation. Let's all join hands. Let's all do our part to ensure that the country Ghana is rid of filth. When we meet other countries elsewhere, the status of sanitation in Ghana is always something that comparatively Other countries like Rwanda that just returned from war have done it. Why can't we, as Ghanaians, support leadership to be able to deliver a clean Ghana? So the task.
Yeah, I think you have said a lot. Thank you for having you on the show. And as he rightfully said, he said, let us join hands. I mean, se Ghana be ejina wankasa me ena me wo me ono ejina yeso ebit my bibi. We can clean Ghana. Let us change our attitude. Let us change our behavior. Let us love our country so that we can, whatever we are doing, we know that we are putting the country first, not our pocket or anything. Let us contribute to the sanitation issues in Ghana. Let us all play our part. As the president even said, he said, Sisa Usubai, let's clean Ghana. Play your part. We have enjoyed the show, and I know that you have also enjoyed the show. Mr. Paul, we are going to meet again.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yo, Kofi, oh my.